Okay,
Hey,
into
what's
it.
up?
Go. Wait, what's your background?
I took 2 years of physics too in high school. That was 4 years ago. That's the most I've
Okay.
done.
I
Yeah.
say that the Earth is flat. What say you?
Okay. So here's premise one, right? You can use an accelerometer to measure the difference in an angle, right?
How is your accelerometer calibrated?
Any accelerometer. All right. No, we
Have
don't
you
need
ever
that.
built an accelerometer yourself that you've calibrated yourself?
Okay. All right. No, that's fine. We don't need an accelerometer.
Okay.
Literally use a straight line. Okay. You're walking in a straight line.
Yep.
Right? Turn 90 degrees.
Okay.
Right. Continue walking in a line. Turn 90 degrees again. Will you intersect the original line you're on? Yes or no?
No.
If the Earth is flat, you won't. If the Earth is rounded, spherical, you will intersect that line.
Have you ever driven or walked that far enough to actually test
You do
that?
not need to walk that far. You can do it in a couple of miles, and you will intersect the line.
If I can see how the streets are laid out in my city and they don't intersect. They make squares.
Yeah, because the streets are not straight lines, right? This is a premise, right?
No, if I go and look at a map right now, wait, no, whoa, don't gish gallop me, bro. If I go and I look up a map of Los Angeles,
Yeah. Fuck
okay.
maps. We don't need maps.
All
Just
of the
lines
maps,
there.
all of the lines are perfectly straight. The streets are all
Yep.
straight, and they don't,
yeah.
and these do fine. They're
No,
just
the
like I
streets
would
are not
expect.
straight.
Yeah, they
So
are.
you tell me, you got look, right there. Adam's Moment. You go to that intersection, right? You put down a piece of paper, the 90-degree ends on that piece of paper. That will directly match that angle. That's what you're telling me?
Yep.
Okay, sure. That you can use that angle then. Take that angle and connect 2 other 90-degree angles, and they will intersect, right? And you can just use the edge of the paper to measure out the angle, and it will intersect. You will eventually intersect the line you started on.
What are you talking about? You never intersect. You'd have to make another turn.
No, you wouldn't.
If I am driving down Western Avenue and I take a right on Martin Luther King Boulevard and I were to keep a left even, I'm always going to be driving. I'm never going to intersect with any line. What do you mean?
Okay, would you make the argument the entire GPS and GLONASS systems are just fabricated and they have like some complex algorithm that converts a flat Earth into a geometrical one or a sphere?
No, it's very simply done. It's ran by the U.S. government and they just translate it so that the coordinates make sense.
Okay, what's the algorithm that would do that then?
I mean, I can refer you to. I mean, what's the algorithm that they would use for a circular Earth?
It's called GPS positioning. It's just the time response takes to get from the satellite to where you are, and they triangulate with 3 other satellites, and then you get to your position. It's so much simpler to explain a spherical Earth than some
But you can't even
magical-
explain. Wait, what do you mean? Any explanation you give for why your satellites work in your system works perfectly fine in mine. How do your
No, it
satilates
doesn't.
even measure?
No,
Wait, how do your
I'm
satellites
asking.
even measure the other end of the Earth? If the Earth is spherical, how do the satellites even get the information around the planet?
Because there are multiples. All right, just
What do you mean? Wait, because there are multiples. Wait, so wait. Stop gish galloping me. I just want to ask a question. How are the satellites aimed that they can both simultaneously send information to Earth and to other satellites?
Because they have line of sight
Wait, line of sight to what? To the Earth or the other satellites?
to the other satellites.
So how
You
are
have
they aimed at
multiple
the Earth? Wait. If they're aimed at the other satellites,
Okay.
how are they aimed at the Earth in order to tell you like where your signal is?
Draw a sphere and then draw a bigger
Wait,
sphere.
why
around
can't you
it,
answer my
right?
question?
I can't. This is how I'm answering your
No.
question.
I'm asking you if a satellite is both facing another satellite that's supposedly above
Yeah.
your circular Earth and
Because
facing the
satellites
ground at the
field-
same time. How can they? How do they do that? How can they be
They have
pointing?
field of view.
What?
A satellite is like I don't know X amount of degrees that it can intercept and transmit data on. It's not like satellites are literally lasers.
No, but they usually have like dishes that are pointed in like a certain direction.
Yeah. And those dishes have a sphere, have a radius that they can transmit data on.
No, they're usually pointed in a very specific direction. If we were to
So
go
this is the
outside and you were to look
argument
at,
going
if you were to go and look at any satellite dish ever made, go outside, look for a direct
Yeah.
TV satellite dish, it's pointing in a certain direction. And
Yeah,
anybody
yeah,
here that has experience with satellite dishes knows that if you misalign these even a little bit, you'll lose all of
Yeah.
your signal. If you have a direct TV
Okay.
satellite set up and you misangle it by even 30 degrees, you have no TV. So how are you telling me that a GPS satellite can both cover enough area on Earth and point at another satellite? Unless, are you telling me that there are literally millions of GPS satellites that do this?
First off, there's numerous thousands of them. I'm pretty sure there's a lot.
You would need
There's a
far
lot.
more than thousands. Actually,
No, I
let's
don't
do.
care.
Wait.
No, I don't even care. Right?
Wait. Square footage of Earth. Wait, I'm curious. Square footage of Earth. How many satellites would you need to cover so many miles so that you can both be pointed at the ground and pointed at another satellite?
You don't even need that. Okay, satellites can have multiple dishes. You can have one pointed at the ground that is scanning and one that communicates to other satellites.
Show me a picture of a GPS satellite that you send up that has dishes pointed at the Earth and at the other satellites.
All right, let's look at GPS satellites.
Okay. I'm looking at some right now. I don't see multiple
Yeah,
dishes
are
on
you?
them. Yeah.
On stream right now.
Looks
Hello?
like one dish just pointing down at the Earth to me. How do you get multiple dishes all over the place?
Oh wow, look at this. What is this?
I'm looking at it.
Okay, I'm literally linking you in chat right now exactly how satellites would communicate with each other, right? It's from a Wikipedia article on GPS satellite orbits.
Yeah, of course, because the Wikipedia articles are written for spherical Earth.
You're asking me how something would communicate with itself, with the ground, and other satellites, and this is how. So I've answered the question. Can we go on to the next one?
So you haven't answered the question. You've continually dodged it. Now you are doing an appeal to authority.
Okay, yeah.
Not to mention that we're only looking at pictures of satellites. We're not looking at actual real ones. And you haven't answered the question of how this look at this satellite here that they even draw the picture of. It's not even facing the Earth. How could you possibly do GPS with this?
Oh wow, you're right. I didn't consider that. I like how we just didn't finalize the original argument about the 90-degree angles, and now we're going to the.
Wait. We did the 90-degree argument angle. You lost.
No, how did I lose that argument?
Because everybody on this planet knows that if I take a left down the street and then I go down the street and I take a left on another one, I'm not going to run into the original street, which is apparently what you think would happen.
If you go for 5 miles, turn left, 5 miles, turn left, you will intersect the original line within like 20 miles.
No, you won't. What are you talking about?
Really? Do you want to try it? Do you want to try it? Go on your car right now and try it, okay?
Actually, we don't need to. I'll go back to my home city of Omaha, Nebraska, and we can go down Dodge. That street goes on for way more than 5 miles, and if you take a left down there, you can drive 5 miles as well, and you won't intersect with anything.
Okay, it's probably so. Then it's more than 5 miles. Say it's 100 miles.
Now it's 100 miles.
Yeah, it could be. So like
it could be. It sounds like you don't even know. You're just making up numbers to win. But no. Listen. What you're doing right now is really important. This is what every single sphere cuck does. Is in order to win their argument, when 5 miles doesn't work, well, now it's 100 miles. If I say, well, I drive 100 miles, you're gonna say, okay, it's 1,000 miles. This is the same thing. No, listen. This is the same thing you guys do when it comes to the horizon. Why can't I see curvature? Well, because you're not far up enough. Okay, well now I'm in a plane. Why can't I see it up there? Oh, because you're not far up enough. Okay, well now I've got a weather balloon. Why can't I see it there? Oh, well it's not far enough. I have to believe in a space station that I've never seen in my entire life that's supposedly transmitting information back to Earth to tell me that there's a sphere or a curvature on the Earth.
Live on stream right now, okay? Trigonometry problem. Do you agree that trigonometry exists and it's a legitimate science?
Sure.
You agree with trigonometry? Okay. A squared plus B squared is C squared, right? So now we're looking. We have A squared and B squared are 5. And the answer is what number? How far would you have to go, right?
I don't know. You tell me.
25 plus 25. And then the square root of 50.
It's like 7.07.
Yeah, 7.07. So that's...
So you're saying I only have to go 5 miles, and then if I turn left, I should drive 7 miles, and I'll run into my original point? All right, let's check. So here we have...
Those aren't straight lines. Those are straight lines.
I mean, if that's what you want to do, hold on. Let's go to... I'm trying to find the biggest street in Omaha. 72nd Street in Omaha. Okay, we're going to follow this street in Omaha. So 72nd. I'm going to get how do you draw like a measure distance. Okay, click on the map. Bam. So we're going to drive from here. Oh, okay, that's 1.9 miles. That's 2.9 miles. How far do you want me to go? Do you want me to go 5 miles?
Let's go 100 miles. It doesn't matter.
Okay, wait. Okay, wait. Let's go 100 miles.
Repeat this. Okay.
So if I were to go, there's 11.2 miles. Let's say somehow we jump up there and we go 14 miles. So you're saying that if I go up here 100
Your lines
miles...
are not straight. Look at that line. Those are not straight. Those are not 113 lines. What are you doing?
My lines aren't completely straight, but you're saying that if I drive up here 100 miles, that I can take a right here... Maybe whatever is this? What is this? Interstate 71? If I drive right here, eventually I'm just gonna run back into this point.
Okay, wait, no. This is actually something. If your lines were straight and then you brought it down, the distance between the bottom 2 points and the top 2 points would not be the same.
Yeah. Yes, it would be.
No, it wouldn't. Depending on if you're above or below the equator, they would not be the exact same distance.
Okay, let's check. Okay, clear measurements.
No.
Well, no, wait. Let's check. Let's test it. I'm curious.
Better example.
Let's test it. Measure distance. Okay.
I don't know exactly how accurate Google is. It probably rounds it off. It probably truncates it so we don't get the accurate data.
Oh, so now it's because it's truncating that it's not going to work.
These are very precise measurements, right? So no. Let's do another example, right? So you.
Whoa! Now wait. Why? We got to move on to another example.
3 ships. Yeah, this one's more clear. 3 ships, right? You have communications. You say lasers or whatever that you can communicate between the 3 ships. Okay. You send one ship and the second ship. Maybe they're above horizon. Maybe they're 200 miles away, right? The third ship. Could you connect these ships so that there were 90 degrees between the 2 respective ships for each relevant ship? Right?
Hold on. I'm seeing if it's going to be... Okay, do you guys think when I draw it here, are we going to go all the way to 400 miles, or is it going to be some different number? Here we go. I don't know, dude. It looks like a perfect square like I would expect a flat Earth to be. It's 400 miles, almost exactly.
No. No. The first one? No. Right before this, you were 299.3, and then you were 401. Those are not the exact angles.
It's like 400 miles. It's almost the same. If this is a spherical...
It's like...
Yeah,
okay.
because there's a little bit of human error in me drawing the box, but for the most part, this is exactly how it is.
We're dealing with very precise measurements here. You can't just say a little bit of human error and then ignore it.
Okay, how precise... Okay, yeah, how precise does it have to be? How many miles out do we have to go?
I don't know how far the ships would have to be away from
Okay, well, before you seemed very confident 5 miles. Now you seem confident 100. What, it has to be bigger now?
There is a number. There is a number that exists that you can get 3 ships, and all of them have 90 degrees of separation, right?
Oh, okay.
There's a number. And then you can't refute it. There's a number.
I don't know what you're asking me. I don't know what math has to do with this. This is a simple observation.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Yeah, okay. Are we done?
I don't know, are you? Are you going to bring any real evidence for a spherical Earth?
So, I'm telling you, right, it's something that you can observe. If you can accurately measure the angles you walk, you could walk a distance by which 3 turns...
We've already tested this, sir, and it's not working at all, so we have to do a different...
No, you only tested for like 100 miles.
Okay, how many miles should I test? How many miles do you want me to test?
I don't know.
You don't even know, then what am I supposed to do?
Because I don't know the exact curvature of the Earth and how far you'd have to walk. It's probably on the order of thousands of miles, but there's a number that can scientifically...
Thousands of miles? How many miles is it? How many miles is it from the North Pole to the South Pole? Do you even know?
It's probably a lot. But I know for sure that...
You don't even know. Let me tell you. It's 8,600 miles, okay? So you're telling me I have to walk, what, 5,000 miles to actually get there?
No. Look,
you just said 1,000 miles and you don't even know. There might have been more distance, or there might not even have been that much distance between the North and South Pole. You didn't even know. And now you're trying to say that you know how far I would need to walk?
Are you gish galloping me? I think you're gish galloping.
I'm not gish galloping you. You just made a claim about how many miles I would have to walk in order to see this supposed curvature, and you didn't even know how many miles wide the Earth was, or how long it would take me from north to south.
Can you explain why you can't see something over the horizon?
Yeah, of course, because light falls off.
What do you mean light falls off?
Light is attracted to gravitational bodies, so it's pulled down into the Earth, so we can't see that far. You believe this, right? Don't you say in your science books that black holes absorb light? So wouldn't the Earth absorb light too? So you shine a light over a long distance and it gets pulled into the Earth.
So do you just disagree with the measurements of the gravitational, like how much gravity Earth has? Do you just think that they're off? It's not 9.81. It's so much more.
9.81. That's not a measure of gravity. That's the speed at which the Earth is ascending.
Squared.
What?
Oh, okay,
yeah, that's the speed at which.
No. You're wrong. You can't both say the Earth is ascending at 9.81, right? And then also say that light is deflecting along the horizon, because that's not enough to affect the velocity of light. That is not enough.
Wait, I'm sorry, sir. If light is shot,
goes 3 times 10 to the 8 meters per second, right? 9.81 meters per second is not going to have an impact on the speed of light. It will not No, you could see literally Burj Khalifa, the fucking tallest city, from here,
sir,
if that was the case.
Sir, things still attract things to one another. Things obviously attract things to one another. We can watch water do this as well. It's just not the same force of gravity that you describe.
That's called surface tension.
Okay, you can call it what you want, but that's not the same type of gravity that you're describing. I don't understand. Tell me why you think you should be able to observe something miles and miles away from you if gravitational bodies, as you describe them, attract light. If light should be pulled into the Earth, why should I be able to see something 10 miles away?
Because it takes a sufficient mass or a change in velocity of light to have an impact.
So you're telling me that the Earth, the huge thing we live on, has no impact on light?
I'm telling you the impact of 9.81 meters per second is nothing compared to 3 times 10 to the 8. That's what I'm telling you.
If that's true, then why is it that during a lunar eclipse, we still see the light pulled around the moon because of the supposed gravity of the moon, as you say?
That has to do with diffraction.
The moon is diffracting the light off the surface?
No, light goes in wavelengths, and the wavelengths sometimes don't intersect the object. That's how light can bend around doors.
Wait, how is the light bending?
Oh, so do you disagree that light travels in waves?
Sure, light travels in waves, but I don't know what you mean by it's bending around the moon. Only some light waves bend around the moon, or what?
Yeah, because sometimes, right, depending on the wavelength of the light, the wavelength can actually pass by something that would otherwise have been in direct line of sight.
So you're saying that some light goes... Wait, hold on, wait. I'm trying to understand. You're saying that some light just goes right through the moon? Why are you Googling stuff in the middle of our debate? You should know this. Okay, wait, so some light bends around the moon and some light doesn't?
Yes, because some light hits the moon, some light doesn't, depending on where it is in its wave.
What do you mean the light doesn't hit the moon? I thought you said the moon blocks the whole sun.
Do you want me to explain it? I can. It is defined as the bending of waves around the corners of an obstacle or through an aperture into the region of geometrical shadow of the obstacle plus aperture.
Okay, so why does this only bend some light waves and not others, supposedly?
Do you want to talk about the dual slit experiment?
No. I don't know why you have to keep jumping topics. Why? I just want you to tell me why
I explain to you how it passes through something that's in the line of sight.
I just want to know why you think some light bends around the moon and some light doesn't, supposedly.
Because not all light has the same wavelengths, and it also depends on where the light is in the wavelength.
Can you ever run an experiment on Earth? If I shine a flashlight around a corner, I don't see certain types of light bend around the corner.
I'm talking about the dual slit experiment that does this. And
what does the dual slit experiment explain?
Okay, it's how something, so it's interference patterns and diffraction patterns. When you have one light source and then two separate openings, and you shine the light source, it has an interference pattern. Why would that happen for electrons?
That has to do with quantum theory, about how we can't know where a certain photon is going before we've actually observed it. The dual slit experiment isn't an experiment that has to do with different wavelengths. That just has to do with quantum theory, supposedly, about how we can't actually know.
So you're saying the only implication from this massive study or massive experiment was one thing in quantum mechanics?
That's generally what it's testing. It has nothing to do with wavelengths. Yeah, of course. You're telling me we didn't know about rainbows before the dual slit experiment?
You don't need to know. Okay, all right, cool.
All the dual slit experiment tests is that by observing a photon, you are actually changing like where it's going to wind up at. That's the whole point of the dual slit experiment. It has nothing to do with wavelengths.
That's not what it explains.
That's all it has to do. It has nothing to do with wavelength. Wait, so you're telling me that
No. So you just told me that Heisenberg's uncertainty principle is explained by the dual slit.
That's part of the, no. What Heisenberg's uncertainty
principle? You
principle?
literally just said that.
No, I'm just talking about. I'm just
the mass. You said we can't know about velocity and the mass. That's literally Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. And you said that the dual slit experiment explains that, which it doesn't.
So you're telling me that we had no description of how rainbows worked until the dual slit experiment?
No. I'm telling you the dual slit experiment explains much more than just rainbows, but it also helps explain rainbows, which is just a fraction of light.
So if I were to go into Google and type in dual slit experiment and then rainbow, you think there's going to be some information that comes up about this?
I don't know. Probably. I don't know. It's not relevant to the question.
What do you mean? You're literally saying that this is what it is explaining. Let's see.
You were the one that said that.
No, you're the one that brought up the double slit experiment. I'm looking at like a whole thing about rainbows on this explanation.
I brought up the dual slit experiment to explain diffraction of light and interference patterns.
I don't know what you still haven't explained how this causes it to bend around a moon.
It literally explains diffraction, how light is a wave that sometimes intercepts an object and sometimes can go around it, even though it's in its line of sight.
I don't think dual slit has anything. I'm curious, how does this have anything to do with rainbows? Can you please explain this to me?
I never drew the connection to rainbows. That was all on your part.
Wait, then why did you bring up the dual slit experiment?
To explain diffraction.
Why do we need to explain diffraction to talk about the moon?
Because that's how the light bends around the moon, even though it's in its line of sight.
It bends around the moon because of diffraction? How?
Yes.
It's passing through a vacuum. In your explanation, the space is a vacuum around the moon. There's nothing to diffract through.
The bending around the moon is okay. You're conflating so many different things. The bending around the moon is not
let's focus.
Bending,
let's focus on one thing, okay? Let's just talk about the moon. All of us can see a lunar eclipse, and all of us can see the sun rays bending around the moon. Now, in my theory, okay, where the sun isn't 8 million, whatever billion miles away from the Earth, the sun is actually a body thousands of miles in the sky, and the moon is a body, directly beneath it. In my theory, it all makes sense. Of course, the moon pulls the light a little bit into it, the same way that light falls onto the Earth when we observe it at a distance of 10 miles or whatever. It makes sense. But now in your theory, you have a light source that's billions of miles away. You have a moon in front of it that's supposed to be right next to our planet, but somehow that moon is bending the light around it through diffraction or something. I'm just trying to ask you to explain that.
The light is diffracting around it.
Diffracting through what? It's a vacuum.
The amount of work done by the moon on the light particles is very, very low. Almost nothing.
The moon. Wait. How does the moon cause diffraction of light around the moon in the vacuum?
The same way that any other object would cause diffraction.
Okay, sure. Let's try it. Hold on. Okay.
No. Light propagates through space as a wave.
Okay, so we can do. All of us can do this experiment right now. Hold an object. Actually, hold your hand up and block a light source. And you can actually see no light's getting through my hand. I don't see any light traveling through. All of us can hold our hand up over a light and block the light.
It depends on the size and the intensity of the light. If you held up your thumb to like a 200 megawatt flashlight or something, you would experience diffraction.
So you're telling me that the moon is the absolute perfect size to totally block everything except for the slight edges of the sun that allows it. What?
It's that the sun is so big that it's so much energy coming from the sun that it can produce diffraction.
Wait, so now the sun is the one diffracting things?
No. So it's like the magnitude and how much power is in the light, right? Like the intensity of the light and the amount of particles, of photons, right?
You're not explaining anything about how the moon is diffracting anything.
I just did. That
No,
was the
you didn't.
purpose.
My understanding of diffraction is that when you shine light through water, because the different wavelengths travel at different speeds, because it's passing through the water, it will refract out of that at different wavelengths. Like you'll see the different wavelengths. That's my understanding of diffraction. I don't think anything passes through the moon, and outside of the moon is a vacuum. So I don't understand how there's any diffraction happening here around the moon.
We're confusing two different principles here. There's there's an index of refraction, right? So when a light travels between two different substances, right, as a medium, right?
Yep.
Depends on the index of refraction of the two substances. Then it experiences a change in either wavelength or the direction the light's going, right? Versus the fraction, which is encountering an obstacle. I'm not talking about any change with any indices. Indices of refraction here.
So you're telling me that the light is reflecting off the moon and then it's bouncing back around the moon to go back to the Earth? Light doesn't work that way. Why are you Googling things, sir?
Because I'm going the textbook definition of refraction versus diffraction.
Okay, that's fine. Tell me.
Refraction is a change in direction of waves that occurs when waves travel from one medium to another.
Yep.
Diffraction is the bending of waves around obstacles and openings. You're literally just confused between these two things.
So you're telling, if that's true, you've said it yourself that the sun is so massive that it's diffracting light around it. Why can't we see more of the light of the sun? If the sun is millions of miles huge and the moon is this itty bitty thing in space, why wouldn't the sun completely envelop the moon then?
Because it's so far away.
But you just talked to me for 5 minutes about how it's massive, there are so many photons, and it's such a magnitude.
There's a range. There's clearly a range. If the moon were like 3 times the size, it could probably block out almost all of the sun's light. We'd see no diffraction. If the moon was like a golf ball, right? We wouldn't see the moon because it would just be too small.
So you don't find it strange that you've made the math exactly work out such that, and supposedly,
it's not that exact.
No, but it is, because we can all see when a lunar eclipse happens, the moon is apparently exactly the size, and all of your physics have been worked out exactly the way that you have it exactly set up, so the moon is just barely allowing a ring of light around the moon. What are the statistical odds of that actually happening? Or is it more likely that you've just bent the math to kind of suit your needs to make sure you have a flat Earth?
So,
or you've got a spherical Earth.
We can go into like the exact definitions of the ratios and the distance that needs to be, but there's a pretty large margin for range. Like the moon could be probably twice as big and still experience some diffraction.
But that's not true because when Venus is between us and the sun, it's totally enveloped. When Mercury is between us and the sun, it's totally enveloped. Why?
Because the ratio is so massive in favor of the sun.
Okay, and even when Mars is behind us, why doesn't the Earth leave a shadow on Mars then?
That's literally again because of diffraction.
Wait, what? It's what?
No. What you just explained is exactly why we don't see Venus when it comes in between the sun and Earth.
I'm asking you to explain it. You tell me that there's like diffraction of light and shit, but the Venus is way bigger than.
This goes back to when I said if the moon was the size of a golf ball, we wouldn't see it. We wouldn't see diffraction. We would just see all the sun.
Let's say that things actually did that. Why wouldn't we leave a shadow on Mars then? When the Earth passes over between Mars and the sun, why don't we leave a shadow on Mars?
It's because of the same thing. If the moon were the size of a golf ball, we wouldn't see a shadow on
The moon's not the size of a golf ball.
I'm saying if it were, which is probably even it's more lenient proportions to what the Earth is to that planet.
Okay. I mean, you have your theory, but basically what you've told me is you have all of the math and all of your theories work so perfectly that the moon is the absolute perfect size, despite it being in your model a random thing that maybe hit the Earth a million years ago and bounced off. It's the perfect size.
When did I ever say that?
What?
But yeah, it's right. No.
Yeah, you're saying the moon is the perfect size to have a ring of light around it, and everything bends in the perfect way, but it doesn't bend so much on Earth that light falls off over time, and somehow we don't leave a shadow on Mars, which you haven't really explained why, and Venus and Mercury, somehow you've made all the numbers and calculations fit these exact things,
I mean, I've explained the proportions. I don't really understand what the confusion is.
Well, sure. Well, how are the proportions? How much larger is Venus than our moon?
Yeah, but it's so far away. That's the explanation.
So
It's like,
because
so-
it all
so
works out
something-
because you make
something
things
really
like
close-
the far enough
no.
distance. Okay.
Something really close it can be a lot bigger, right, than something further away. I don't explain this. Are we done? Are you gonna play Apex now? The squad's ready.
Okay, I love you, buddy. Okay.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Cool.
Take care,
All right.
bye.
Listen. Don't be greedy. Don't be greedy in KSP.
Get out of here. Be careful, because if you say overthrow, I don't want the cops to show up at your house and arrest you or something like those other 150 people that apparently don't exist in your
Yeah,
prisons.
I'm-
Okay, so be real careful.